it coming up.
Okay, let's do the Evil Dead first.
Did you ever see that?
Getting into this.
Eddie,
Yeah.
No, let's do time. Let's do Back to the
all
Future. That's fine.
All right, you're fine.
Okay, smart.
Did you ever see Intruder with him?
Well, hey, I'm on TV, goddammit. It's my time. Hi, this is Edwin Samuelson, and welcome to the CineFiles, the show that allows you to eavesdrop on the conversations of fellow film fanatics. And I'm trying not to laugh. Now stop it. Thank you. Okay. Goddamn, these things really are hitting me now. Hi, I'm Edwin Samuelson. Welcome to the CineFiles, the show that allows you to eavesdrop on the conversations of fellow film fanatics. Today we're going to be discussing the Back to the Future series. We got a lot of requests online for this, so we thought it'd be a good topic, and that's why we're going to be discussing it.
Just so you know, people, a lot is usually 2.
Hey, I'm happy with that. And by the way, I want to thank everybody. We're now up to 850 subscribers, and I appreciate that. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, which you most likely are, please click the rate that you like this video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't.
Click the rate.
And also, please share this video on your profile, let it get out there. Join us on Facebook, the discussion page. Also, friend us individually, and check out the CineFiles blog, cinefilestv.blogspot.com. All this stuff will be flashed on the screen for you to check out, so please do it. Now, with enough self-promotion, let's get into this. Back to the Future.
You sound so enthusiastic about this.
I'm not really that enthusiastic.
We got to put this into context for you folks before we get into the film discussion, but our friend Edwin here is on painkillers, which
Thank you for announcing that to the world.
Well, we
everybody.
got to put it in context. We got to explain to the audience because we're going to have fun with this.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, people. I have a herniated disc, and it hurts like hell. I mean, it hurts. I'm limping. I had to take something because it was killing me. So if I'm a little bit out of it today,
Get the gimp.
Nothing to be ashamed.
Get the gimp. The gimp's sleeping.
So Robert Zemeckis, Bob Gale wrote the script.
Yes, Robert Zemeckis, Bob Gale were writing, directing team at USC. Spielberg discovered them and then gave them their first really big gig, which was I Want to Hold Your Hand, which was a film that was a fictional version of what happened when the Beatles landed in America on the Ed Sullivan Show. And you'll see a lot of themes in this movie that would later revisited in Forrest Gump with a historical reenactments with fiction.
Historical figures.
Thank you, historical figures. And unfortunately, the film it didn't do too well. It got great reviews, and it wasn't on video for the longest time most obviously because of music rights. But it came on video and became a huge cult hit, and it's a good little movie. After that, Robert Zemeckis.
But you know something? They still got chances, though. It's not like the movies today where you have maybe not such a successful film and then you're out of the game. They got chances again. They had their. It's kind of an odd little follow-up. Their used cars. It's kind of because that was a pretty blue comedy at the time.
Well, I love Used Cars. In fact, Used Cars I think is perhaps my favorite Robert Zemeckis film because it's an R-rated film. It's really funny. I mean, it really goes
pretty
for the
bawdy, though.
Yeah, it goes for the gut and hits you, and it is damn funny. And it got some great character actors like Frank McRae, Garrett Graham, and of course Kurt Russell, probably in his first adult role. And they give it their all. And Jack Warden, who was phenomenal in the dual role of the car dealers. I love this movie. And unfortunately, like I Want to Hold Your Hand, it got great reviews, but it didn't do too well at the box office.
Seemed more of like one of those movies that was destined for the drive-in.
But I mean, I'm just shocked that it didn't make a lot of money because I mean, it really is a funny
when did that
movie.
come out? Did it
1980.
Okay, so it came out just before Porky's hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they said it was the marketing of why it didn't do
probably
well.
We came out a little too soon.
Probably that's probably why. They said the marketing wasn't really good on the movie because I mean, if you look at the DVD, there's a commercial with was Kurt Russell doing like a used car ad, and it just
But it's not.
You don't
I mean,
get it.
it's just folks. If you've never seen used cars, it's not like it's a Porky style although it has its share of bodiness, there's actually, it's more of a, I don't know, it's more like a, I can't even explain.
It's a raunchy comedy. It takes no prisoners.
But it's not
damn funny.
adolescent.
No, it's not adolescent. It's an adult.
It's kind of a screwball comedy.
It's a screwball comedy.
A blue screwball comedy.
Isn't this a Back to the Future show?
We'll get it. But anyway, after they wrote this,
He's
it didn't
on
do too well.
painkillers.
They wrote the script for a movie called Back to the Future, and they had it in development for a long time. They submitted to Disney because they thought it could be like a fun, like kind of like like Freaky Friday type movie. And Disney looked at the script and didn't like the mother falling in love with the son, and also they didn't feel comfortable with the
Kids playing in a refrigerator.
Kids playing in a refrigerator because the original Time Machine was a refrigerator. So they changed it to a DeLorean, and they changed a few other elements, and they took it to Spielberg, and they were afraid because they said if they failed this time with Spielberg, because they also wrote 1941, which was another huge bomb, this was it for their careers. Luckily, Zemeckis in the meantime directed a film that actually got him this movie made, and that movie was Romancing the Stone.
Yeah.
Romancing the Stone was a big hit, so it gave him some clout. But ironically, just before Romancing the Stone came out, he was hired to direct Cocoon. But they believed that Romancing the Stone was going to be a bomb, so they fired him from Cocoon, and then they went forward with Back to the Future. Now, Back to the Future was a very troubled production at first. It was originally went in production with Eric Stoltz in the Michael J. Fox role. They shot for about 2 weeks, and then they said, this is not working, because Eric Stoltz was, as you can see, he was a very mature teenager. He didn't act like a teenager, they said. In fact, you can see some stills of him reenacting some of the scenes that are in the movie with Michael J. Fox. And he doesn't even look right in the part. So they shut down production, and they went to Gary David Goldberg, who was the producer of Family Ties, and made a deal for Michael J. Fox to come on set and film concurrently. So he was filming Family Ties in the daytime, and then at night he would film Back to the Future. So he basically said for weeks at a time he'd be sleeping 2 hours a night because he really wanted to make this movie. Back to the Future, it was a $15 million movie. They really didn't have much faith in it, the studio, but they put it out there, and to everyone's surprise, it made a fortune. It went on to make $285 million in 1985.
Wow.
Which, as you can imagine, is a shitload of money. And I gotta say, everything about Back to the Future, it really has a very sweet feel to it, which I think that Robert Zemeckis tried to recapture later, like in Forrest Gump, but I think he failed completely. I hate Forrest Gump because...
Well, that's because with Forrest Gump it feels more artificial. Here it actually feels a little more heartfelt.
And it's charming. I mean, Michael J. Fox is one of the key reasons this movie works well. He's a very winning, charming personality. He's very likable. He's the perfect every teenager, the kid you grew up with, you know.
Well, that's why I kind of identified with him when I was younger when the film came out, because here was a star who was, on the short side, and he had everything going for him. And in this film, even though he's downtrodden in the beginning of the film, he still has a girlfriend. He's kind of popular. His family's poor, but that seems to be one of the bigger problems, other than, various members of his family and their problems. But then throughout the film, he kind of discovers himself. And another one of the reasons I like this film is the casting, because it's probably the film that defined Christopher Lloyd's film work, because he was in a lot of other films after this, but he's still well remembered for this, even though before this it was mainly from Taxi. And what was the name of the bald actor who played
James Tolkien,
who I think is just hilarious in this film.
Yeah, he was a very big character actor. In fact, people might remember him as the district attorney in the very underrated Sidney Lumet film Prince of the City.
Or you might unfortunately remember him from being in Masters of the Universe.
Oh yeah, he's also in that, and he's also in Dick Tracy. That's what I got to say is one of the strongest aspects. I'm very glad that you nailed that, Jeff.
And Crispin Glover.
The casting in that film, they didn't have a lot of money for the casting, but the people they got were really excellent character actors. And that's very sad today, because the actors that you see in that movie, you don't see actors like that today. Like today, like you would have like Steve Buscemi, if you want like a certain comic actor, you can get him. Mm-hmm. Who do you have like that today? You don't have these people that are just like well-known actors who've been around. You don't know their names, but you know their faces, and they fit these types so well. And Back to the Future is full of that. You have Leah Thompson, who's very winning as the mother/love interest.
Yeah, but she was also a big female lead at that time, too.
Not really. She only did Jaws 3D, and she did like a movie called The Wildlife.
All the right moves.
And All the Right Moves, but she wasn't like super big yet.
She was starting to get known. I would say, just very quickly,
Short Circuit.
I like Back to the Future.
She's not in that.
I think it's a very good film. I think it's a very well.
Whatever.
Excuse me. I think it was a very well constructed film. I think it's very clever. I think the tone is absolutely spot on. It's a very cute film. You made the argument about Forrest Gump. I don't think he tried to do the same thing with Forrest Gump. I think he was trying to make an Oscar movie with Forrest Gump and tried too hard, and that's where that failed. But I think the first Back to the Future film is the best one of the three.
Yes.
And the only thing is, I always was when I watched, the only thing that disturbed me was how he changed his present through his actions.
The paradoxes.
That always kind of like bothered me a little bit. Yes, he had a better life he came back to, but it always seemed kind of irresponsible to me.
Yeah, I thought that was
creepy
unusual
way.
because there's that one thing, in fact, they talk about in the sequel where, in fact, they even talk about in the first Back to the Future film where Dr. Brown goes to Michael J. Fox, you can't leave this house. Any event that you do can change the course of history, which of course he does by, saving his dad, and that means he wouldn't be born. But somehow he's able to change everything, and yet he's still being able to be born. His brother, his sister, he's still in the same house. Of course, his parents are more wealthy at the end, and they're doing more successful. You do have to suspend your belief on some of these things. But the film is very charming, and we got to give credit to Crispin Glover. Crispin Glover that guy is somebody to watch. He has a wonderful performance.
The most normal he'll ever play.
Yeah, and I love his dialogue, and I love his scenes. They said Robert Zemeckis had such a difficult time directing him, but he said it was worth it just because of how good he was.
And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he in Family Ties as well?
I believe he was on Family Ties.
No.
He was like a recurring character.
I
He
don't
might have
remember that.
been. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. He was in everything.
I hated
know he
Family
was,
Ties.
Well, I know he was in a TV movie with Michael J. Fox.
High School USA. Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'm picking up.
Yeah, he was a terrific.
I know he's in some sitcom.
He's terrific in the movie. In fact, I love some of the dialogue too, like where one of my favorite scenes is where Michael J. Fox tries to track down Emmett Brown and tries to convince him that he knows him from the future, and he goes, "Well, future boy, if who's the president in 1985? Ronald Reagan, the actor." Which I think it's actually very funny the way it's constructed. These little lines of dialogue.
Yeah, he goes or asks for a tab. It's like a little cute little moment.
Yeah, it's very well played.
Yes, but you forgot to mention Thomas F. Wilson as Biff.
We can't forget him.
Thomas
What are you
Wilson
looking
is
at,
great.
butthead?
But I'm wondering why Mike hasn't chimed in yet. Usually he's.
I'm shocked. You're like being. Are you Jeff today?
It was all right. I thought the film was okay. Crispin Glover is fantastic. I even asked Crispin Glover how.
Explain how you met Crispin Glover.
I met Crispin Glover at a filming of his film, a short film called What Is It? And I just asked him how he managed to.
At a film.
You mean the screening?
Yes, he managed to. I guess compromise between his artistic and filmmaker beliefs and his mainstream acting. And he said that when he made Back to the Future, after the success of that, he really took it upon himself to reject a lot of scripts and projects that came his way because a lot of things weren't what interested him. And he lost a lot of work before that, and then he had to realize that when he did get mainstream work, that would allow him to do his films.
A la John Cassavetes wrote.
Exactly. And I even told him that. I said, "You're a John Cassavetes," and he said, "That's my model." So, so it's interesting to see. And I think he's a very talented actor. Obviously, he got probably a lot of good lessons and advice from his father, Mr. Wendt.
Yes,
Bruce
from
Glover.
James Bond.
Bruce Glover.
No, I think Crispin Glover is the heart of the film, whereas Marty McFly might be the kind of the gloss and the hood ornament of it, but I think Crispin Glover is the heart because he's the one you really feel for because Michael J. Fox, while he has to be clever and everything, he's really not the nerd that you really feel for because he's really got everything going for him, despite the fact that you said he's got a poor family, but he's still clever enough. He's got a girlfriend. He's not a bad-looking kid. He wears that vest. I mean, who wears a fucking hunter orange vest while you're going skateboarding? I don't know, but
So why would this? I just question. Why is it just an okay film to you, and not like a great film? Or
I don't know. It was watchable. I enjoyed it when I saw it in the movie theater. I thought, oh, that was good, and then I just left it at that. It's quotable. I mean, I always love doing the "Hello, McFly," knocking
Anyone
on.
home?
But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, it is.
I can't really explain myself too much on this one, just because it was okay.
It's a very well-made movie though for what it is, and I think it's probably
Never a big Michael J. Fox fan ever. Hated Family Ties with a passion because I thought he was a little arrogant, little '80s Republican yuppie.
Well, that's just his
piece
character.
of crap.
He's
Exactly.
not like that.
Alex Keaton.
Don't worry, he called out Rush Limbaugh.
No,
okay?
no, no. I didn't say I hated him. I actually don't mind the person. I just never cared for him as an actor.
Okay, that's not bad.
But you confuse the actor with the character.
That's how good he is.
Something to say.
Oh, Alex Keaton. No,
He's
no,
not even a- he's
I just hated the show.
Oh,
I didn't hate him because of it. I just hated the show.
Well, I will go on record. I think it's one.
Christopher Lloyd's good as the wacky professor.
It's a very good movie. It's a great time capsule.
Everybody
that
does
is.
what they're supposed to do in the film, and that's good.
It's a good
That's
script, too.
It's a crowd pleaser, but you don't feel like a jackass at the end. It's not like a Michael Bay film or something. Actually, it's not like all the other Robert Zemeckis films that he made after.
Yeah.
Which most of the time make you feel like an asshole for watching these films.
Well, that's like I have a problem. My problem now with Robert Zemeckis is that, like Spielberg, when Spielberg first started out, he made some really good movies, but then he started to repeat the same formula and sugar it up a little bit more and more, where it got so savvy where it just ruined.
Robert
everything.
Zemeckis made one, in my opinion, made one good film after Back to the Future, and that was Castaway. That was it.
I hated that too.
I liked it. And I wanted to hate it too. I wanted to hate that film, and I saw it, and I actually enjoyed it.
That's a surprise. Wow, Michael likes Castaway.
Yeah.
Werewolf is
let's-
okay, but does that really count? as
No,
Robert Zemeckis
no,
character film?
no, no.
Well, hey, let's get on the
It's a
next
Christmas
one.
Carol.
Let's get on the next one. The
You
next
mean
film
the
is,
the
Back
Christmas
to the
train
Future
or
2.
whatever?
Whatever.
Back to the Future 2.
Polar Express.
We're still talking
We're
about
still okay.
later Robert Zemeckis
I'll edit this
film.
part out. Okay, the next film was Back to the Future 2, which was shot back to back with Part 3. So Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale got together and wrote a script back to back, so they would all kind of blend in together. Now, when they wrote Back to the Future in the first one, they said they never intended it for have a sequel. At the end, you know that very famous scene where he comes
Yes.
in.
To be continued.
Leave it at that.
Yeah, he said that was a
Leave
joke.
it at that.
But because of the unexpected success, they decided let's do a sequel. So they said, well, now we got to do a sequel. Kind of like what Sylvester Stallone said in Rambo. He goes, originally in Rambo, Sylvester Stallone's character died, but they said that it was too much of a downer, so they let him live. So then, of course, he had the
Same
sequels.
thing with Lethal Weapon.
But yeah, exactly. So they wrote the
Riggs.
script, and it came out 4 years later. And I got to say, it started off really interestingly. I love the opening with.
Well, they also shot the two sequels, the
shot 'em back
second
to
and
back.
third
That's what I said. They were shot back to back. That's what
That was the
Rick-
first time that was ever done, too.
No, it's not. They
No, it's
did that
not?
with the Three
The
Musketeers.
Three Musketeers. They actually, it's an
Oh,
infamous.
with Michael York
I'm going to
and-
use his favorite phrase, infamous. It's an infamous production story because the actors were tricked into thinking they were shooting one film.
And they got paid for only one. And
They got paid for only one.
That's the
film.
Michael York, Oliver Reed one?
Yeah, which is actually they're both very good films.
Yeah, and it just ends abruptly, kind of, and then they just continue on because they had so much footage. Kind of like what they did with Kill Bill, but they got ripped off. So they made a law to prevent this. But they filmed both Back to the Future movies back to back, and this one they of course go to the future to change an event that's going to affect Michael J. Fox's life. When I saw it, I was really thrilled with the vision of the future. I thought it was a really unique view of the future. I thought they did a really good job spoofing, things that we'd have in the future. Of course, today you look at it, it's very dated because it's only now, my God, 5 years into the future because the movie takes place in 2015. The scene, there is something that I do not like, and it should, on paper, it sounds really good, is where they go back in time to the original film because Biff, the character, goes back in time to the school dance in the original film.
Right.
And you actually see them watching themselves from the first film. On paper, it sounds terrific, but the problem is you already know what's going to happen, basically, and it kind of makes it boring. Originally, they wanted to do was get Crispin Glover to come back, but he wouldn't do it because he said he wanted the same salary as Michael J. Fox. That was going to take place in the flower power generation with the parents in the college, which I think would have been a lot more interesting. But they went back there, and it's just basically the second half becomes a rethread of the first film. And the problem is, too, it has a very dark tone at the end, which just does not fit in with the rest of the series. I really didn't like it. And, of course, like I said, the loss of Crispin Glover. They have another actor play him, but you only see him from far away, and he's upside down, has this really bad prosthetics. And it's a really missed opportunity that he wasn't out in this film.
Well, with this film, I felt like watching it, even as a kid, I felt like they just threw more special effects into it, and this was supposed to be the film where, since you knew they were already making a third, just sit through this, and then once you get to the third, you'll be rewarded until you see the third and realize most of it's a Western.
Yeah, in fact, when you see the end of the second one, there's actually, just before the credits roll, it says, coming next year, and it actually has a trailer of scenes of the new one that's coming out.
Exactly.
So it's just like a big cock tease. Okay, well, you like this? Well, now you got to wait another 6 months before to find out how it ends.
To me, this felt like it was almost like a product placement film instead of an actual continuation of the story.
Yeah, there's scenes like, like they go to the future, Hess gas stations, Pepsi, let's freeze dry Pepsi pizza. Let's do this. Everything is a product placement.
Well, this film also made me really hate Robert Zemeckis as a kid because they did a making of special on this, and he said that hoverboards were real. And since I was young, I was stupid and believed it, and I just thought, oh, they really just never released it. And then finding out in the making of the third film that there never really were any hoverboards, and I think I've always held resentment against him for that.
Yeah, it was a primetime NBC special that came out. It was the same day of the movie, and they had Leslie Nielsen host it. And did you hear Robert Zemeckis go, oh yeah, we got these and they're real, and of course he goes, oh, I guess they only work in the future. That's the scene? Yes. Mm-hmm. In fact, it opened very strongly, but it didn't do very well with the critics, and actually made less than half of what the first one did. And it was
a problematic movie. It's like 2 movies. Mm-hmm. And it feels longer than it actually is. And yeah, I totally agree with you. The best part of the film is the first half, was in the future. And I don't even think like that first half, visually it's pretty amazing. But if you're throwing enough money, you can make it look good. But the humor seems forced. They're repeating a lot of jokes.
And it's kind of hammy too, like the makeup and stuff.
It's a little overdone.
Like
although, Thomas, I like how they bring out the Biff character a little bit more. And to me, that was the most interesting thing in the entire film. And yeah, I hated that whole going back to the 50s. And then like Michael J. Fox almost takes sort of a back seat during the whole 1950s thing.
Yeah, because he's there with himself, trying not to be seen by his photo.
Trying not to be seen. He's just basically on a microphone, or he's basically on a walkie-talkie the entire time talking to the crazy doctor character.
Yeah, in fact, we're talking about that lawsuit, where they film movies back to back. Crispin Glover actually sued Steven Spielberg because they used a lot of his footage without permission and didn't compensate him. So they made a new law where they couldn't use footage without paying the actor first or getting his permission. Because don't forget, they have him like he's there, and it's scenes from the first film. That's what ruins it for me, is that, But then, of course, a few months later, we got the Back to the Future 3, which I gotta say, I actually kind of enjoyed it.
We didn't hear Mike's take on
Oh, I'm
that.
sorry, Mike is
like dozing off.
I fucking hated it. I just hated it. I thought it was boring. I thought it was repetitive. I thought it was completely and utterly uninteresting. I thought most of the future humor was just stupid. So when they showed the trailer or pseudo trailer at the end for Back to the Future 3, I just didn't give a shit. I just didn't give a shit. I hated the whole premise. It's like you should have stopped it at 1 and you went. And I was actually kind of interested to see part 2. I didn't see it at the theater though. I did see it on cable, and I was interested to see where they were going to go. And it was just a mess from beginning to end, just a mess. And I didn't see the third one, so I'm going to be really silent.
All right. Well, I'll make it a very quick one because then we can get on to our next show. But Back to the Future 3 came out a few months later, and actually, I got to say, it was a big improvement to me over the second one. I enjoyed the humor.
I'd say slight improvement.
I enjoyed the humor. I thought taking it out of the future and out of the trappings of the first one, because the first one, in the second one they go back to the first
wasn't it just like a retarded Western?
It was a Western.
Yeah, it was basically retired Western, and it was a missed opportunity because, they kept saying the whole thing about how Doc. What's his name again?
Dr. Emmett Brown.
Doc Brown was a big Jules Verne fan. So wouldn't it be cool if he went back in time, they somehow had to go to a steampunk kind of thing? And all it was just this we're going to make fun of Westerns by calling a character Clint Eastwood, stuff like that. I just thought it was just, it was obvious. I thought it was, it's only better than the second, than the first sequel because there's more of a coherent story.
Well, I thought the story was pretty interesting on how they tried to get back into the future, with the train, and there was they had a spoof of the old train heist. They tried to have fun with the old westerns.
I am so surprised that you liked it.
I was surprised too.
It
I
looked
liked
so
the third one.
fucking stupid from the commercials.
I actually
You didn't see
liked
it.
Part 3.
I know.
Exactly.
I'm just saying
But
it.
3 is
in the
much
film.
better than 2.
I'm just saying it looked
I
horrible
wouldn't
on the
say much
commercials.
better. It's a little
I mean, the
better.
best moment of the
actors are
film
great.
is when they make the reference to The Fistful of Dollars, where he takes the idea from the movie.
And they set that up in part 2, actually, where you see
Yeah.
Biff in the future watching it, and then Michael J. Fox is watching him watch it. And then in the third one, you see him take it. That's
Yeah.
actually, so they actually shows that the two scripts really were written back to back. I really liked the film. I mean, it was much better than I was expecting, because I wasn't expecting much after the second one, because the second one was a major downer. But I can say the first movie,
No pun intended.
the second one, the first one was a really good movie. I still like it to this day, and I think it's a good movie.
Well, I like it. I mean, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but if it was on cable or television, I can sit through it and, not throw up. And I find it interesting that on
laughing at what you said.
On YouTube, there's actually a clip where
I know what you're
with
talking
the
about.
kid on the train, where he actually tries to get the camera to come in closer, then points at his penis.
Yeah, I saw that. It's like, what is this kid doing? There's actually a clip of, when he, at the end, when he makes the appearance with the two kids, Jules and Vern. You see the kid, and he's like doing like something like this, and it's like, I can't believe the camera operator didn't get it. It's like, what the fuck is that kid doing? Look for it on YouTube. I'll even link to it when we.
It's
upload
a-
this.
I think this
Michael
has
J.
got to
Fox
be
movies.
Mike Foltz's least enthusiastic
I know.
episode ever.
He was yawning over here a second ago.
This is. I think you're taking Jeff's personality. Have you guys done a
Wait,
transplant?
what's that supposed to mean? I'm enthusiastic during shows. I'm just quiet. I let other people talk.
All right. Well, that will conclude this episode of CineFiles. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll get into more time travel movies as we go on. But we thank you for watching. And again, join us on the Facebook pages. And
Wait a minute. Let me ask you this quick question. How do you think the films fit into like the time travel genre?
I still
Do you
think
think they're worthy additions to the genre?
the
or?
first one, yes. The best time travel movie, as far as I'm concerned, is probably The Time Machine or Time After Time. Those are two
Yeah,
of my
Time After
favorites.
Time is a very good film.
Those are two of my favorites. I also like the movies where a person cannot change the past. I mean, the future. I can't think of what the movie was. Time Crimes. That was a very
Time
good
and
that
12
one.
Monkeys.
12 Monkeys. The future is what you make it. It's
You know what we should do is sometime for us and the fans, we should do a time travel show with other time travel movies. Isn't that a great idea?
I feel like we
Yes,
just
it
went,
sounds so great.
I think we
You
just went back
think
in
of that
time.
one?
I think we just went back in time. Well, anyway, I'm Edwin Samuelson. I hope
Yes.
you'll enjoy the show, and we hope to talk to you on the Facebook discussion pages.
And I promise to talk more, apparently.
You
and
did.
not yawn as much.
You did. Thank you, and good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good day.
What did Gloria just say?
Do it again, so I did.